What happens when a rising MotoGP star publicly wages war against his own manufacturer? The answer might surprise you, and it's reshaping how we think about rider-team dynamics in motorcycle racing's premier class. Pedro Acosta's explosive feud with KTM this season started like a slow-motion train wreck that nobody could look away from. Here was a 21-year-old phenom in just his second year of premier class racing, brazenly calling out his own team's machinery while the manufacturer was literally fighting for financial survival. But here's where it gets controversial. Was Acosta's public rebellion actually the wake-up call KTM desperately needed? The Spanish sensation didn't mince words when discussing how dramatically things have transformed between himself and the Austrian manufacturer. What began as a relationship so toxic it threatened to derail both parties has undergone a complete metamorphosis, turning into what might be the most fascinating comeback story of the 2025 season. Let me tell you something. The relationship I had with KTM during the middle of this season was absolutely brutal, Acosta revealed following KTM's home race weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix. His candid admission pulls back the curtain on just how close this partnership came to complete collapse. The tension reached its breaking point when Acosta's frustration with the RC16's development trajectory boiled over into public statements that left little to the imagination. Adding fuel to the fire was KTM's well-documented financial crisis, which had the entire paddock questioning whether the manufacturer would even survive long enough to honor Acosta's contract through 2026. And this is the part most people miss. While KTM was scrambling to secure its future, their star rider was making barely veiled overtures toward Ducati, the championship-winning manufacturer that every rider dreams of joining. But something remarkable happened after the Brno round. Instead of letting this relationship implode completely, both sides decided to sit down and hash out their differences like adults. After Brno, we arranged a meeting with Pit Bearer, KTM's motorsport director, and the whole purpose was to de-escalate everything and start fresh, Acosta explained. I presented them with a list of things I needed from them, and they had their own list of expectations for me. What you're seeing now is everyone making genuine compromises to make this work. The transformation has been nothing short of stunning. Acosta has surged to become KTM's undisputed #1 rider again, building a commanding 62-point advantage over his closest KTM teammate. Even more impressive, he's strung together 4 consecutive top 4 finishes across Brno and the Red Bull Ring, proving that when rider and machine are in harmony, magic can happen. So what exactly did KTM ask of their young star? The answer reveals a fascinating insight into the psychology of elite motorcycle racing. They basically told me I needed to be more positive, Acosta admitted, though he was quick to point out that he'd already been working on his attitude following earlier discussions with team manager Aki Aho. But here's the really interesting part. KTM also asked him to accept the bike's realistic limitations on any given weekend. When something is completely beyond your control, you can't just keep pushing harder and harder hoping for a miracle, Acosta explained, with the wisdom of someone who's learned this lesson the hard way. Sometimes that approach leads to crashes, and you end up losing more points than you would have gained by riding within the bike's sweet spot. This newfound maturity was on full display during the Australian Grand Prix weekend. In previous races, Acosta might have risked everything for a podium shot, but instead, he chose calculated restraint. I'll be completely honest with you. If this had been the old Pedro Acosta, I would have sent that bike straight into the gravel, trying to fight for that podium with everything I had, he confessed. But I'm starting to understand that when you're thinking about championship points, you have to see beyond just one single race result. The numbers tell a compelling story. Currently sitting 7th in the championship with 144 points, tied with Franco Morbidelli and Fabio Di Giannantonio for 5th, Acosta is positioning himself as a legitimate championship contender, not just a weekend warrior chasing glory. But here's where the technical side gets really fascinating. Acosta revealed that adapting to the 2025 RC16 has required a complete overhaul of his riding approach. Both he and teammate Brad Binder have confirmed that this year's machine demands a fundamentally different technique compared to the 2024 version. You honestly can't imagine how many heated discussions happen in our garage during race weekends because I'm still not executing the riding style they're asking for, Acosta admitted with refreshing honesty. Your natural riding instincts are like your DNA. You can't just switch them off overnight. But I'm genuinely working incredibly hard to adapt, even when every fiber of my racing instincts is telling me to do something different. And this is the part most people miss. While Acosta was learning to compromise, KTM wasn't sitting idle. The manufacturer has been steadily improving the RC16, and their efforts culminated in a significant aerodynamic package that debuted at the Red Bull Ring. Acosta was genuinely enthusiastic about these developments, describing them as upgrades he'd been requesting since the Aragon round. This new aero setup gives us much better turning capability, he explained, clearly energized by the bike's evolution. I expect we'll see even more dramatic improvements on upcoming tracks that emphasize high-speed cornering. That's where this package should really shine. The timing couldn't be more perfect. With KTM's future now secured through Bajaj Auto's rescue investment and the cloud of uncertainty finally lifted from their MotoGP program, both rider and manufacturer can focus purely on performance rather than survival. But here's the controversial question that's got everyone in the paddock talking. Was Acosta's public criticism actually the catalyst KTM needed to step up their game? Some insiders argue that his brutal honesty forced the manufacturer to confront uncomfortable truths about their development process. Others believe his behavior was unprofessional and potentially damaging to team morale. What's your take on this dramatic turnaround? Do you think young riders should publicly pressure their manufacturers when performance isn't meeting expectations, or should these battles be fought behind closed doors? And more importantly, can this newly rebuilt partnership between Acosta and KTM actually challenge Ducati's current dominance in MotoGP? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is one debate that's far from over.